Okay, welcome back to another MECH 1000 video. If memory serves, this will be a pretty short video. We're looking at Unit 12 in the Blueprint Reading textbook, which involves auxiliary views, which are required when you have inclined or oblique planes. So first of all, let's talk about the meaning of the word auxiliary. It basically means that it is something in addition to the minimum requirements. It's like an extra or bonus. And in the case of technical drawings, auxiliary views are basically views that are in addition to the standard views of top, front, or side that we would typically see in a multi-view drawing. Sometimes these auxiliary views replace one of those principal views. So the auxiliary view may not necessarily be in addition. It may actually be a replacement to one of the views we're used to seeing. So why do we need an auxiliary view? Well, if we have an object like this one that has these inclined surfaces, and we view them from above, the circular features, the hole or this solid cylindrical part sticking out the back, they're not going to appear to be circles. We're going to be viewing them from an oblique angle, and that's going to make them appear to be ellipses. And so we want all of the features to be represented true to size in at least one view. So when we have an inclined surface and we have something circular on it, we need to project an additional view that is perpendicular to that surface in order to represent that hole as a true circle. Now, if the plane slopes in one direction with respect to the three primary surfaces of top, front, and side, then we call that inclined. And if it slopes in two directions, we call that oblique. So objects that have inclined planes, if they have features on those planes, we're going to need to project a view perpendicular to that inclined plane in order to view the true shape of those features. And we call that view the auxiliary view. And it can be a partial view. The auxiliary view doesn't necessarily need to represent the entire part. For example, here we have a bent plate that has holes in it. This surface would be inclined. In order to see the true shape of these holes, we project this view in a direction perpendicular to the inclined surface. And notice that we are not seeing the entire shape. We're not seeing this part of the object right here in the auxiliary view, nor are we seeing this part, this downward bending leg of the plate. We're not seeing that in the top view either. So, so both of these views are partial views. Now this bent plate has a hard angle here, and so there's a clear line to distinguish these two views. It's very easy to split them apart. In this view right here, there's a radius at the bend, and so there's not a clear edge that separates these into two different views. So we actually need to use a short break line to represent breaking those two partial views in half. Okay, so let's look at an example exercise. This question is asking, what principal view did the auxiliary view replace? So we can see we've got a view here that's projected straight up, and we see this one, and it has an inclined surface on it, and that is then projected in a diagonal direction. So we could say that this is the top, and this is the front, and this is the auxiliary. So which of the primary views are we missing? That would be the right side view. How many auxiliary views does this part contain? So if we start here, this view is projected down to get this view, and that's projected to the left to get this view. And then we have both one auxiliary view here and another one projected out in this direction. So we are seeing this as one auxiliary view and this as a second. So that's two auxiliary views. So an oblique plane is it's sloping with respect to two of our primary surfaces. And what these types of views will require are a primary and secondary auxiliary views. So we basically have to project one auxiliary view, and then we project an auxiliary of the auxiliary to finally get to this view that shows us the true feature of that object. Okay, so here we have another bent plate with some holes in it. If we want to see these holes in their true shape, in other words, as circles and not ellipses, we have to project one primary auxiliary view, okay, and then project from that a secondary auxiliary view, and that is finally going to give us the view in which those circles do appear to be circles. All right, how many principal views appear on this drawing? Well, we have this principal view, and it's projected at an angle, so that makes this an auxiliary view, the primary, and then this is the secondary auxiliary view. So really, there's just this one primary view right there in the upper right. How many principal views appear on this drawing? Again, we have the one principal view. We project a primary auxiliary, and from there project a secondary auxiliary view. So we've got three views. Two of them are auxiliary. Only one is primary, or principal, I should say. All right, which view, primary or secondary auxiliary, shows the true shape of the slot? So here's the true shape of the slot. And we were able to see that because we took our principal view, projected a primary auxiliary, and then from that projected the secondary auxiliary. So it's the secondary auxiliary view that is showing us the true shape of that slot. And that's it. That's it for this chapter. As I said at the beginning, I thought I remembered this being a very short chapter, and indeed it is. So if you have any questions on auxiliary views, please be sure to ask those questions on the Blackboard discussion board, or come to class prepared to ask those questions. I will see you in class.